Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
How are you on this fantastic day?
I am great. And obviously you have, kind of changed up your intro there because you're so excited that you are finally now out of the education field and into your counseling field. So,
well,
having said goodbye to that last week. So
it's bittersweet, but it is definitely exciting to be off on a new life path.
Yeah, I mean, I think that new adventures are always good, right? And so you've done the teaching thing for 20 plus years, and it's time for a change.
So I feel like I've been headed this way for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, at least a decade or more, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's great. I mean, you're definitely cut out for the field. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about, your successes in that field. Not that you can tell me a lot about your patients or anything, but
but I think that we can talk generally.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm looking forward to is working with kids in a totally different fashion because I find that, as adults, we forget what it's like to be a child. And we take our life experiences and we go and I think it's hard sometimes to always remember that our kids are watching us, listening to us, observing us, even when we're not talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we can, as adults, as parents, we can send a message to young people that is not by words, but by actions. And I can remember growing up being told all the time that actions speak louder than words.
Right.
And as an adult, I truly do believe that.
Yeah. I mean, we like to say it to kids, but we forget that our actions also speak loudly, right?
Oh, amen.
I mean, that's a big, I know that for me, I try to remember as a high school teacher, what I was like in high school. And, and that helps me, dial it back a little bit and remember and relate to these kids a little better. Cause, I wasn't the most awesome student in high school. And, I wasn't on the worst end either, but, I had some fun in high school and some kids have fun in high school and, the kids are still kids, but they're also watching, right? They're watching and expecting adults to act like adults, mostly, and they do see the things that we do,
and that's where I thought maybe it might be worth exploring a little today. As I ran across an article on Huffington Post, and as I read through it, I go, oh my goodness, this really is something that I think we as adults know but don't always remember. Sure. And that is that, again, kids are always paying attention. And so some of the things that were brought up in this article I wanted to share. And one of the things that they brought up was talking about even if you may use words, your actions about how you feel about your partner or your co-parent play louder in what you do than what you say about them.
Sure.
And so our nonverbal, our body language, rolling of eyes, all these kinds of things, we need to be very careful when, as a parent, when we're talking to our children, or even to each other, to our spouse, as, how we talk to them.
Yeah.
And because we can definitely, because kids are so smart. No matter what, they can pick up greatly on our nonverbal clues.
Yes.
Or cues, I guess is the better word. And so therefore, I guess just make sure that we are, I don't know the right words here, but not just say the words, but follow them up with actions of how you feel about them. I always knew that my mom and dad loved each other. They always held hands. They would always kiss each other hello or goodbye.
Yep.
And all showed physical affection towards each other. So you knew that they liked each other a lot.
Yeah, I think some people try to hide that stuff, right? They try to hide that. They feel like it's too personal or whatever. But, if you hide it, then the kids, don't know. They can't tell. Mm-hmm. What your real affection is for each other. So, you obviously don't want to be out in public sitting in a restaurant making out at the table. Right. But, but there's nothing wrong with holding hands, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's okay. And, that is something that, my wife and I do. We've been married for 32 years and we still hold hands frequently, even in public. And it's, that's just who we are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that, our kids have been able to see over the years. Now, have we had arguments or things? Of course. Mm-hmm. We try to keep those out of the view. So the affection in the view, right? The negative aspects keep out of view, right? Until we resolve them.
And that's kind of what they're saying too, that, Mom, Dad, if we're going to have an argument or disagreement or something like that, well, do it out of earshot. And because even if you're in another room, the kids can still hear through walls or through open doors or sometimes even closed doors. And so just take an opportunity to make sure that, whatever you say or do is on the up and up, more polite, more showing that you do care. Even if you don't, fake it.
But even so, even if you have a disagreement, which I think is good to have in view of children as well, because you want to be able to, show them that you can have a disagreement, resolve it, and still love each other. And so, having mild disagreements and working them out in front of them is fine, right? Obviously, you don't want to have major discussions of, money, or, bedroom related things, in front of kids, right?
Exactly.
But, minor disagreements, where we're going to eat dinner, what are we going to do?
Sure.
Like you can work those things out so that they can see how to do that, because they are watching for that too. So, but in the end, after the disagreement, I always go to holding hands and, it's still, all of that came first, right? Like I obviously was attracted to my wife and we were, we dated and we did all those things, and that hasn't gone away, right? Like I still remember why I did that.
And that's kind of what they're saying here. Even if you're going through a divorce, be friendly, be polite. Even if you hate the other person's guts, do your level best to not talk badly about the other spouse in front of the kids. And part of this deals exactly with attachment. When kids feel like mom and dad, that they can trust mom and dad, then they feel safer, they feel more confident and more cared for, and it leads to a better emotional development. So, right. Because some of the things that the article brought out was, dad could say, wow, mommy planned a fun adventure for us today. Yeah. Or, hey, this dinner came out great. Daddy did a great job, or even talking about grandparents, those kinds of things. I thought, yes, kids need to hear it, but they also need to feel it.
Right.
So some of the other things that they talked about is how you feel about your body. It's, I guess, as we look at this, sometimes, we can, I'm on a diet or all these kinds of things. And sometimes we can I'm too fat. And you're as skinny as can be. These kinds of things. Just if you want to do those kinds of things, if you're saying, well, I want to lose a few pounds, okay. If you want to exercise, okay. But if you're constantly talking about your body shape in front of your kids, it can actually have, or even again, it's not just words, but if you're talking a lot about or doing things that make your children feel like, I need to be body conscious too, you might accidentally be sending a wrong kind of message.
See, I think this is probably one of the hardest things because, body types, but the way that people feel about their bodies, their confidence with their body has a lot to do with our social environments and the things that are coming at us, right? I mean, everything's airbrushed or AI or something. So, there's these, perfect looking bodies, we might say with quotes, right? Like, out there, but like they're not real.
Exactly.
It's not realistic. In order to achieve something like that, you have to do some very unnatural things to make that happen. And that's never good for you or anybody else, right? And certainly trying to perpetuate that is not a good idea. I actually appreciate that. You go to stores now or you see magazines or, you look at commercials that a lot of them have very different body types represented within the commercials. And I think that's great because you know what? Everybody should be happy with who they are. Now, does that mean you want to stay that way? Not necessarily, right? But that's up to you, right? It's okay. And if it's not entirely okay with you, there's ways to do that. But, every kid should know that like they're fine, right? Like babies aren't born having a concern about their bodies.
Exactly.
Right? We make that happen to them. And that's something I think that we have to fight.
And that's kind of what they're saying here, that we as adults can help influence our kids knowingly or unknowingly. Even if you're afraid to have your picture taken or maybe you don't want to be seen out in public in a bathing suit.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of things that kids will pick up on. Maybe not at first, but they'll pick up and they're going, oh. And especially as they get into those preteens and early adolescent years where they're trying to figure out their place in the world. And suddenly now, now you throw in, well, gee, not only am I not pretty or attractive or athletic enough? Well, now I'm too fat.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we as parents can inadvertently share a wrong kind of message. Yeah. So, again, I don't know that it's necessarily surprising, but I think if we can be aware of these things, even if we are, I guess I could lose a few pounds or, I'm going to eat a little less because I want to worry about my girlish figure. Oh, because I've actually said that out loud.
Right.
It's fine, but also understand that you might want to throw that in with a little bit of comedy or, something. I mean, I'm still going to.
You just got to be careful who you're around, right? So,
yes.
Some people are much more sensitive to that. And that's just about being aware of who you're speaking to. But, certainly with family, with kids, especially teenage girls, like being body conscious to a point that's kind of toxic is not going to help them. Because they've already got TikTok and Instagram and all those things coming at them for those reels, right? That are pushing a perfect body type, so to speak. And it's just not real, right? And there's this idea that, that's what people care about. And, most of the people I know don't care about that. They don't. In fact, they have their own issues with their own bodies. So it's not.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like there's just no perfect thing going on. And what models do to make that happen is just absolutely horrible for their health and their mental well-being and all those things. So,
well, it's a short-term gain for a long-term loss. So,
right.
Well, something else that was mentioned in this article was talking about sharing with your child that they have value. Now, most of the time, we as parents will make sure that our kids, we'll tell them that they have value, that they're important. But it's also, again, deeds, not words. And if you tell them that, well, okay, we're going to put you in a sport and it's going to be about team building and working together with others, but when you pick them up from a game and your first question is, well, who won? What are you actually sharing? It's not about their part, their growth, their development. It's, did you win?
Right.
And so it's making sure, again, that kids, in fact, feel like they're valuable.
Yeah.
And one of the part of this, they interviewed a lady, her name is Laura Markham, and she wrote a book called Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids. And in there, she's talking about, again, make sure that you are mindful of how you're communicating to your child. Let them know that they're valuable, that they are, that they matter.
Right.
And, the idea that kids learn a lot just by observing. And so they can draw conclusions about their value by watching how they are treated by mom or dad.
And I think this is partly also about like, what do they value, right? What are your values? And as teenagers, especially, you're trying to develop values in them. Like, what are they going to value or they turn into adults? And I think that, from a, I know you're not teaching anymore, but from a teaching perspective, my thing has been, that grades are not the value, right? That learning is the value. And so, switching questioning up from, as your kid comes home from school from, what grade did you get on the test to, what did you learn today?
Yes.
Right. The learning is what's the important thing. The grade doesn't really matter, right? Nobody cares about it after high school.
Not at all.
So it's not important, right? And if we focus on the learning, the kids will generally value that and get the grades that they want anyway.
Right?
It's an outcome, not an expectation.
Yes. I actually had that same conversation with a kid here during the last week of school.
Yeah.
In which I said, yes, because she was wanting to worry. She was a little worried about her GPA. She had transferred in from another school district and all these kinds of things. And I'm going, okay, here's the thing. In about a week, it won't matter. Because when you go to college, you start all over. Your GPA is 0. And so whatever grade you earn in college will help you. At the end of the day, that won't really matter either when you go out and get a job. They're not going to go, ooh, you only have a 3.7, and I got somebody over here with a 3.9. That's not going to really play a huge role.
Right.
And so,
absolutely right. I mean, don't get me wrong; it gets you into college and those kinds. But if you're focusing along the way on the learning, you will get the GPA that you're looking for, right?
Yeah,
that's the goal, right? So it's not the expectation daily, right? It's the ultimate effect of focusing on the learning. And I think that's true with a lot of different things, right? So if a kid can get up every day and value making their bed, right? That's a good feeling immediately in the morning. And I think that sets them up for positive thoughts, for the rest of the day. That kind of thing is really important.
And that actually is something else that they talked about in this article about showing compassion or grace to yourself. When you show that, you know what? Hey, look, it wasn't the best, but you know what? Give me an opportunity to learn and I'll try again. When you show compassion to yourself, you're teaching your children that they can have compassion for themselves.
Yeah.
Or just the opposite. If you don't show yourself compassion, then children can learn that they themselves cannot.
Right.
That anything less than perfect is not good enough. And so that leads to all kinds of problems that a kid might do, whether it's cheating in school, cheating on a test or all kinds of things. It leads the wrong or shares potentially the wrong conclusion. And so kids need to see that we as adults, we as parents actually say, you know what, that was my bad. This is what happened. I didn't put forth my best effort.
Sure.
And so, you know what? I'm going to try again. And so when we can, again, show compassion to ourselves, then we're helping share that same message to kids that, hey, you can fail and it's not the end of the world.
Right. I mean, life is full of unexpected things, right? And so we often all day long run into choices of do this or do that. Right. And sometimes you don't know which one to do. And so you're going to make mistakes. What you do after that is so important, right? Like if you make a mistake with money and then you just go home and, go to bed and get depressed and do all those things. Not that depression is, it's not avoidable.
True.
Per se. But how you handle that, do you just do that, or do you actually seek somebody out for some help? Right? Are you reaching out to people? Are you working through the problem in full view? Because that kid is going to have that problem. If you can't cope and you don't have those mechanisms or you don't have those resources around you, which everybody has if they reach out, then how are they going to do it?
And that is so true. I look at some of the things that I know to be true,
mm-hmm.
and I follow those back, going, where did this begin? And I go back to my parents.
Yeah.
And I go back to the adults in my life when I was growing up, the things that they shared, things that I learned vicariously, not through a direct lesson. And it was kind of like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me, I understand these things now, things that I didn't understand that you can't really fully maybe grasp when you are 10, 12,
sure.
14 years old.
And we all tend to emulate our parents to some extent, right? Like that's what they did, and it's kind of ingrained in us because we saw it happen. So we even if we don't like it, we
mm-hmm.
end up kind of doing it, and then we're like, oh, I need to like consciously stop doing that thing that I didn't like. But I want to keep doing the things that I did like. And so it's, we tend to do that, and our kids are going to do the same thing. And so if we do the bad things, they will also do the bad things.
So, right? Yes, we have to be careful because we truly do model behavior, good and bad.
Yeah.
And
I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I do know I've seen before that like domestic violence tends to come from people who were, kids in domestic violence,
mm-hmm.
and it just keeps begetting itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, at some point you have to stop those things somehow. And of course, counseling is a great way to do that, but you got to recognize that you have a problem
before you can get
right. So
yeah. Well, something else that, and I look back on this, and they're talking about they're talking about food. And
all right, now you're talking.
Yes. And me, I am a foodie. I love food. I love all kinds of food. I'm not a big sushi fan, but I love pretty much anything else. I love spicy food. I hate bland food. But
let's be honest, you love Mexican.
That is true.
As much as possible.
I can eat that probably 4 or 5 times a week. And yes, yummy, yummy, yummy. Now, I will say this, though. What they're talking about here is how we relate to food. And I'll go by an example. Growing up, we were told, take what you want, but eat what you take. And you had to empty your plate before you could be excused from the table. My grandfather would claim to make a happy plate because he would, when it was all done, take a piece of bread and then mop up what was left on the plate, and it looked like it was ready to be put back in the shelf. It was that clean.
Yeah.
And I get that. My parents were products of the Great Depression, and food was scarce. And so therefore their parents taught them that food was scarce. So you don't waste food. As an adult, I discovered that as my metabolism slowed down, my appetite did not. Yeah. And so those unintended, ingrained messages of, if it's on your plate, eat it, was something that I do, even though I would be just full. And I'm going, man, I'm full. Well, Barry,
it tastes so good, right?
Yeah.
And it's the taste that I like. So I just need to get like Mexican food flavored water or something. But, maybe that's an invention. But, I agree. Like my relationship with food is like get in my mouth,
mm-hmm.
and I just want to eat it. Right. I just love it. And, that's been a problem for me, but I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with body. I have lost some weight. That's been a goal of mine, but I'm not like, I haven't lost as much as I maybe wanted to, but that's fine. Whatever. So it's just, when I was growing up, it was also like eat everything, right? Mm-hmm. But it was more like, listen, there's people in other countries starving to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
I heard that too.
I'm like, well, go ahead and ship it to them. Right. Like I don't like lima beans. I'm not going to eat those.
Uh-huh.
So, that wasn't my thing, but, I mean, that's probably not a great way to get kids to eat stuff, but also like, why do we have to eat it all? Right. Like let's not overload our plate to begin with. And so I have an issue personally with like portion size.
Yeah.
And even when I make my own meals at home, like my portions are too big. I try to get my wife to like can you box it up, make the portions for me so that I don't eat too much at lunch? Because if I have it if it's there, I eat it. And even if I'm full. And that's a problem for me.
Well, and that's kind of what they're saying here, too, is sometimes we can, and we might be joking, we might be teasing, but you might be someplace and, like, okay, a church picnic or a neighborhood gathering, and somebody brings out their famous cookies, and they eat, oh my gosh, don't put those cookies near me. Those are dangerous. I'll just sit there and eat the whole plate. Well, that might also be conveying to children, especially your kids, and especially depending on their, state of mind. Well, okay, cookies are bad.
Sure.
And so we have to be, again, mindful a little bit. Because again, when we talked about this earlier too, about, our body shape. And so therefore, just sometimes, again, this inadvertent thing that seems good, because teaching kids to not waste food, not to throw it away just because, well, I don't want to eat it. That's,
yeah.
I don't know that I have a right way,
so
but
my wife likes to talk about how things were such a treat when she was a kid. Like, you didn't have ice cream every night, right? You had ice cream once in a while.
Yeah.
And it was a treat. And I think that's a good way to go about things. Sometimes I want to have ice cream every night.
Yeah.
But I probably could do that every night, but that's not necessarily good for me, and it's too much to eat.
Well, part of it they're saying is that kids will eat what we eat. If we eat a healthy, balanced diet, kids will eat a healthy, balanced diet. And so therefore, again, but it goes back to that modeling. In fact, they interviewed a nutritionist, and they're saying that adults can help children develop healthy eating habits and a healthy relationship with food by modeling that very
Unfortunately,
behavior.
I'm big on pasta because that's what we grew up on because it was cheap.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I like a lot of pasta, and my wife's like, stop eating pasta.
Well, I married an Italian, so I'm in deep trouble
there
too.
You go. You're in trouble, right? But of course, one of our favorite restaurants is a very, very good Italian restaurant. So, but we try not to go there too often.
Well, the last thing that was talked about in this article, and I have to say that my parents made sure I learned this well, how you talk to adults, how you allow your children to talk to other adults. And I was told you will show respect, that you will, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And you call them Mr., you call them Miss. Living here in Texas, instead of like Mr. McCall, all right, or Mr. Nichols, it'll be, okay, well, Mr. Scott or Mr. Rod, and which I thought was kind of interesting. But it's a way of showing respect. And so if you make sure that your children, you talk respectfully to other adults, well, then your children will learn to talk respectfully. And if your children, if they're around you and they happen to say, a kid come up to me and say, "Hey, Rod, I'm sorry. Who are you talking to?" The adult should say, their parent should say, "You're not a peer to them. You are a child." Even if it's a neighbor. I grew up calling all my neighbors Mr. or Mrs. And even though, knew their kids, played with their kids. Heck, they helped raise me. Might call them mom or dad, but you didn't call them by their first names.
I think it's important, though, to respect how that other adult wants to be addressed. Right?
Okay.
If the other adult wants to be addressed as Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, that's fine. If they want to be addressed by first name, that's fine too, right? Like my neighbors, we always addressed them by their first names because we were there all the time and they were fine with that. But not everybody's fine with that. I think you have to kind of feel that out, and respect how people want to be called.
True.
Because, some of them might feel like Mr. or Mrs. is too formal.
Yeah.
Right. So it just depends, right?
Sure.
They might still feel respected, or maybe even more so respected by being called, their first name.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? Or maybe Miss first name.
Sure.
Which happens a lot of times in elementary schools.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's a big thing. So, that's part of it. I think also probably like thinking about how you talk to your kid, how you talk to other adults about your kids, right? Like in front of them. And I know that this happens a lot with toddlers where parents start like spelling things and doing, and trying to hide what they're saying and mask the conversation. But, you know, they're not stupid about it, right? They're picking up on it, and doing that is going to cause them to try to decode that from your expressions and the other things and maybe some recent experience that they've had, and they can start to figure that out.
Yes.
And unfortunately, by the time they figure it out, you've already been too late. Like you've been spelling things and they already know what you're saying.
Yes.
And you just didn't realize it. So, but you know, you don't want to be too sarcastic about what's taken place recently or things like that, because then they start to be self-conscious about that stuff.
And the language that you use, the tone of voice that you use. Of course, I'm reminded of the movie. There's a scene in the movie Gran Torino where Clint Eastwood walks in to talk to his barber, and he uses very colorful language, and then when the neighbor kid he's trying to mentor uses the exact same language, he smacks him around going, "Don't you dare talk to that."
Right.
So
and the excuse of, well, I'm an adult, I can do that, doesn't always fly, right? Because it's like, so when I get to be an adult, I get to do bad things. You know, that kids can't do. That doesn't seem like a logical end to that. So,
but at the end of the day, it's just the whole point of I felt about this article was that we as adults need to remember who's near us, who can hear us. And if we want our children to grow up to be the kind of adults that we can be proud of, well, we need to be the model, the role model for them to be able to learn these kinds of lessons.
Yeah.
So
I do think the bottom line is to just examine what we're doing and what we're saying in front of our kids, right?
Be mindful.
And that's really it. That's the whole, all right.
So anyway, that's kind of what I got. That
awesome.
Sums up pretty much everything in the article. So anyway.
All right. Well, have a good week at your new gig.
All right.
And,
thanks.
You know, hopefully you'll get to be helping a lot of people, and we'll probably have some new thoughts on topics, right?
Well, fingers crossed.
All right.
So, well, until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.